Welcome to All About Art. My name is Alexandra, and I'm an art historian, curator, and writer. Within this podcast, topics relating to art history, cultural policy, the art sector, as well as a large range of other art-related topics will be covered. Conducting critical discussions, having entertaining exchanges, or just enjoying some relaxing chats, All About Art is where you'll find it all. Join me in exploring and developing cultural discourse. Welcome to another episode of All About Art, where I interview COO and co-founder of Artscapy, Emilia De Stasio, about founding a startup that is by art collectors, for art collectors, and uses the combination of art and technology. Emilia has been an avid art collector for the past decade and has developed her love of art through visiting local art exhibitions and going to museums. She did this while working as an economist at the European Central Bank, and then as a venture capitalist who would invest in tech startups. A few years ago, she decided to launch a company together with her partner Alessandro that married both her expertise in finance and tech, as well as her love and her appreciation for art. Stay tuned to hear me chat to Emilia about the company and what the gaps were within the arts in terms of collecting and technology that needed to be filled. We also talk about what is needed if you want to scale a company and make a startup grow within the arts, as well as what the important questions are to ask yourself when speaking to investors. We also chat about personal topics, such as what it was like founding a company with her husband and what her day-to-day looks like. Thank you so much to Emilia for coming on the podcast, and thank you to Artscapy for the collaboration. And now, on to the interview. All right, Emilia, thank you so much for sitting down with me today. I am just going to dive right into the first question, and that is, let's start with a bit about you. Can you tell me and our lovely listeners a bit about your background, your education, and possibly your early career path?
Yeah, sure. Thanks for having me, first of all. I'm very glad to be here with you, Alex. I've been looking forward to doing this. So it's great to be here. About my background, I guess it's been quite a journey. So I started actually in economics, in finance. It's what I studied. So I did my bachelor's in the US, and then I moved to the UK. And then after that, I went into basically financial services. So I've been across the board also there. So I started in public institutions. I was at the European Central Bank, so I spent a year in Germany as well. And then I went into private sector. So I worked at Moody's, always doing more or less financial economic research, which is quite different from looking at startups or working at a startup or being in arts, but we'll get to that. But I got interested in thinking about not just how do markets move, but what are those underlying forces that make markets move? So where does the innovation come from? Who are the drivers of those things? And that curiosity combined with wanting to meet with more people and be more exposed to the economy and to speaking more with people, I got into the world of startups. So looking into investing into startups, so the venture capital side of things, which I found really, really exciting. So that really combines a bit of this research, understanding a project quite comprehensively. So really researching also the market and understanding, does this company have a place in where the market is heading.
So not only the company and getting to know the company, but getting to know the market that the company would sit within.
And that got me into startups, and that's how I got into, let's say, technology side of things. But then at the same time, I've always been interested in art. So, and now with my now husband, we're quite keen collectors. We've been actively collecting since almost a decade at this point. And it was basically one of those where it was a lockdown baby, basically, Artscapy, what we're doing now. So
Same with All About Art.
Yeah. So it was, we've been collecting, and we were getting tired of a lot of the frustrations that I think come with it today. So I think it's quite an intimidating world, stepping into a gallery, especially when you don't come from an art background
100%,
yourself.
Yeah.
So as much as we want to say the door is open, but it's quite an intimidating experience. And you almost get a bit of imposter syndrome. You feel like there's a lot of stigma, I think, that comes in to the art world, whether we want it or not. And the same with just finding information. I mean, it's hard to understand as an outsider how to access good quality art.
Yeah,
so
definitely.
I think what a lot of people think, and probably what I thought if you asked me 10 years ago, was, yeah, okay, but you have to go into one of the big auction houses, so you go into Sotheby's and you sit there with your 5 million in the bank and you bid. And that's how you get into contemporary art.
Yeah.
But it doesn't have to be like that.
No, that can't be further from the truth.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And it took us 10 years to arrive at that point. And so that's what we wanted to change. We wanted to allow more people to access and explore quality contemporary art, fine art.
Yeah.
And that's where Artscapy comes into the picture. So it's a nice combination of basically a passion and then this experience in technology, or looking at startups, or thinking about how to create a business. So having been on the other side of basically questioning everything. So I think Alessandro he is the ideator, and I'm the one that's looking at poking holes at that idea. And then together we make it.
What a perfect combination.
Yeah, exactly. So someone is in the clouds while I'm poking holes at the cloud, and then we still manage to float. So
yeah. Gosh, but that's so important. But it completely resonates, because I am a contemporary art collector. However, I'm an art historian. I've worked at Sotheby's for 4 years. I know what the art market looks like to a certain extent. I understand where I can go to go collect contemporary art, because I went to UCL, which is right, with Slade. And so I understand that I can go to like graduate shows, and I can do it personally because I work in the sector.
Yeah.
But if I didn't work in the sector, I wouldn't know where to begin.
Yeah,
and
exactly.
I wouldn't understand that I could be purchasing things for under 300, under 3,000.
Exactly.
Within any budget, really.
Yeah.
And so I think that that's really important, because I think that what leads to the art world being so intimidating at times is its lack of lack of transparency.
Yeah,
It's opacity.
Yeah.
So it's very much the fact that you cannot find this information. You don't know everything that comes into collecting and all the things that you need to consider. But before we continue, for example, because that would be a good time to talk about the collection management system. However, before we dive into that,
Sure.
Can you tell me more about Artscapy and its mission? And how does it inform the way that you do business, for example, in terms of conducting due diligence? And how are you approaching making an impact on the arts?
Yeah, so this is a good question, and I think it flows quite nicely from what we were talking about before. So our key mission is exactly this: to remove the opacity of the art market, and basically removing that intimidation, those barriers to entry, really, for people to access quality art. Because I think also from the artist perspective, they want to be explored, they want to make an impact, and they're focused on their works. But as someone who loves art, it's hard to enter, and that's what we wanted to get around. So our mission is really this: to democratize fine art collecting, so make it more accessible for people. And that's why we built Artscapy. So Artscapy is really, I would say, even the first platform that is fully dedicated to the collector. So we put the collector at the center, and we try to build something that caters to all the needs of a collector. So be that, growing and managing your collection, exploring art from selected galleries. So also there, we want to really set the bar in terms of a quality experience. So we're working only with very selected galleries. These kind of places where they're pouring their heart and soul into putting together a really nice artist program, but they might not be able to reach the same scale of acknowledgement in the art market. And it's exactly these kind of great galleries of research that we're working with, and we're happy to be working with now. And then we work also in terms of blockchain. So I think blockchain can have a really nice support for the art world. So probably, I mean, most of your listeners know this, but, whenever you buy an artwork, it can come with a certificate of authenticity. Sometimes it doesn't. Yeah. And this, if it comes with that, usually it's this piece of A4 paper that, I could spill my coffee on. Yeah. It could be lost.
You could forget it somewhere in a move. It just ends up in the recycling on accident.
Exactly. But that piece of paper can almost be worth as much as the artwork itself, because that's your way to certify, that it's authentic.
Yeah.
So what better thing than to put that on blockchain? So this database essentially that becomes immutable, allows you to track the provenance. Also, the provenance track is hugely important in the art world. So it's a great tool, I think, to add transparency and support the art world. So that's what we're trying to do. So basically, it's one overall platform that centers on the collector. So also there we're working a lot in terms of the editorial side. So a bit of guides on thinking about these aspects that you talked about. So how do I even get into collecting? How do I know a bit of the background, learn a bit about the artist, but in a non-intimidating way? So we're never trying to... This is also what I struggle with a lot, not everywhere, but a lot of also the writing around art can
100%
can feel quite
100%
can feel quite intimidating, and you're using very big words and as an outsider, again, it becomes quite difficult to match that experience. So,
of course, that's an educational barrier, because not everyone has had access to the education that may allow us to be, when I studied it at UCL, that really changed the way that I write. And sometimes I do notice that my writing can be incredibly academic. And I think that that's something that I also really make an effort to do with the podcast, is when I speak, I don't have to speak in terms of like, I don't want to assume that everyone knows what a certain word means or everyone knows what a certain term is. I want to be able to explain that in simpler terms so that it's easier to understand, so that at least one type of barrier, it might be a language barrier or an educational barrier, who knows, but anyone can be struggling with that, and no matter what background you've come from. And I think that it really is difficult and can put people off of actually engaging with the works intellectually.
Yeah, because what we're seeing with all these people, so actually when we started Artscapy, it was basically a hobby project.
Yeah.
Because we said, look, we're fed up with this. It's hard to find the right kind of tools, information.
Can I ask, what were you using before?
All kinds of things. I mean, we had a couple of, we were using Excel mostly to manage the collection, but then, you also look at standalone services for that. You go to various other price database sites to look a bit of background. You read around, all these scattered websites basically, but it becomes a very demanding journey. If I have to understand one thing about a new artist, you have to go to 5, 6, 7 different places to understand. So actually the funny point is we were looking at a Nara print that was coming through from a friend who's working as an art advisor, and we wanted to have a bit more information about this artist, but you realize that one, we weren't able to talk to other collectors, because also that is something that seems to be a thing of the market, that collectors are not always in the same circle. So we wanted to also help connect different collectors. So just to find a bit more information about Nara, you had to search all these different sites. Okay, is this a good place to find that information? And we said, okay, no, this is enough. We're gonna build off of our experience a bit in technology, so knowing a bit where to go to find these kind of initial tools. So let's just build something for us and a couple of friends to basically manage our collection and maybe do a couple of articles, something like this. But then the more we talked to people, the more we mentioned it to other friends, galleries, they said, look, you have to do this on a bigger scale.
You discovered a gap in the market.
Yeah, and it just really snowballed from there.
Yeah.
Like nothing else. It was kind of that classic startup story. You start in the basement and you think, this is not gonna go anywhere, and then all of a sudden you have a team of 15 people.
Yeah.
And you know, we're really hoping to make an impact now.
Yeah. So we were talking about collection management.
Yeah.
Can you tell me and the listeners a bit more about this collection management system? Because I would like to know how something like that works. I mean, I personally do, because I've used your collection management system. But maybe delve into it a little bit more about why it's useful for the everyday art collector.
Yeah.
Sure.
Yeah, no, so I think it's nice in the sense of having a one place to store your information. So we built basically a system where, one, you can upload everything in one go. You don't have to enter everything one by one. You have all the information. It's encrypted, so you can be sure that it's all safely stored, and you have full basically privacy control over it. So also there we thought of the aspects of maybe you want to share some parts of your collection with friends, so also buy basically buckets of data, so you can have, let's say, the general information about the artwork, so the artwork title, artist, etc. Maybe those things you want to share with friends or your art advisor, you can, and then still store the rest of the information, so provenance, maybe if there's been restoration, invoices, this kind of thing, you can still store that in one place and keep that separately, privately, just for yourself.
Yeah.
And then having just a nice overview of the images. So what you're missing in Excel is, it sounds like a good solution, but then when you get into it, it becomes very messy very quickly.
Oh yeah, definitely.
And you don't see the images either. So here you can have basically a big catalog of your collection.
Yeah.
And then we've added, so building again a bit on our business and finance backgrounds, we wanted to help bring in some analytical tools so you can see.
I love those. I
think they are great because you discover things that you didn't think about before. So you can segment a bit your collection, see by medium or by year of purchase, year of production, by the different artists, but also by value.
Yeah,
so
that's how I have it. Which, I mean, I guess that was the default setting in the beginning, because I haven't played around with it too much. But I want to slowly start putting all of my collected artworks on Artscapy so that I can see and really have this good overview of what's in my collection. Yeah, it's great.
It's nice to hear you say that. Yeah, but no, I mean, I think it was a tool that we felt we needed, so we really built it off of that. And what I like as well is, I mean, you can add also market value. So say that there's been an auction, or you have like a multiple, and that multiple has been sold, and you have a reference point of a value. You can add that in, and you have an overview graph that shows the value of your collection, and that will update then. So you can see also track the value of your collection over time. So also as you sell things, it will automatically show you, if you made any gain on that sale, if you do that. But equally, if there's been a change in value, that will be there basically automatically, which I think is quite quite neat because it gives you also that side of collecting. So some people look at art from a more of an investment angle, and so for them it can be useful to have those kind of informations displayed.
I mean, I don't even look at art collecting from an investment point of view. I mean, I do and I don't, because I don't look at it from an investment point of view in the sense of monetary investment or monetary gain. It's more that when I collect something now, I really look at, do I believe in what this artist is doing? Am I investing in their career as well, in supporting them and putting my monetary contributions towards something that encourages the arts to unfold and to continue? And so even then, I do think it's interesting for me to still know what's going on in my collection and have that overview, because I have artworks that I can't display because I don't have enough space, and so I do have them stored.
Yeah.
And I have artworks in a different country, in my hometown, and so it's really nice to just have more of an overview and to understand what's happening in my collection. It's not like I don't know what's going on, but it's still so good because you can look at it from all these different angles to cater to how you invest. So either investing in artists because you're investing in their careers and what they believe in, or investing for monetary purposes as well, or a combination of the two.
So I think the way I mean, I've only met two kinds of collectors. So one collector that probably wants to make money, so it's a bit more of an investment angle to it. But then equally, the people who do it purely for the love of art, they also don't want to lose money at the end of the day.
No.
So
but
there is that. I mean, it's inherent in the journey that there is a financial element to it. So tracking that helps you be more aware. And also there is something as that you help new collectors to be aware of, really. And also there on the side of location of things, I mean, that's something we also put in there, so you can see where your artworks are located, what kind of, if they're in a storage, or if you've done any work with them, framers, so you really can have an overview. Because I think that's one of the reasons why we have technology, right? So technology is there to help improve and facilitate your life, and that's what we're hoping to do. So using technology to help you collect easier and do it safer. I mean, have the data in one place. So also there, if you're using an Excel, your computer can crash tomorrow, unless you're doing, of course, cloud backups, etc. But with our solution, you already have it in the cloud.
I mean, and with your solution, it's not only this aspect of backing up, but it's generally just the whole smooth process that your system offers. It's so easy. I couldn't imagine trying to take care of my collection or try and document my collection through Excel. I wouldn't have even done it because it was too much of a faff.
Exactly.
Like, no point. But the way that you have structured it and the way that the database works, I find it great. So yeah. But on to my next question. Sure. How was it being in venture capitalist investing and in tech compared to running a business in the arts? And I'm talking more about what is the difference between the two sectors, but also what are the similarities?
Big questions there. So when I was doing the investment, it was across different sectors. So looking at technology for advertising, but also software as a service, digital consumer products. So invested in a fitness app. So very broad scope. I mean, there are some similarities, and there are various frameworks that you tend to follow and you understand. So everything from the market potential, what's the target market, how are they approaching it, what kind of team is running it, how are they looking at the go-to-market strategy, this kind of thing. So there is this thinking, which is quite broad, and you apply to each startup that you're looking at. But then being on the other side of running that, of course, you're focusing on that one project that you're trying to do. So I think for me, the most helpful thing is I can already ask myself or ask us the typical questions. So when we started it, it's like, okay, well, but what's the price point going to be? How is this going to be different from competitors? These kind of classic questions that are good to be aware of as you grow it, as you build it. And we can already anticipate a lot of those questions as we go forward. So when we're speaking with investors now, it helps a lot, because then I'm already aware of what those questions can come, because I've been on the other side, and I have that feeling for how a lot of the things that we talk about could be perceived. So it sounds very grand that we have quite an ambitious roadmap ahead, which often can be perceived by investors saying, "Oh, but you're trying to do too much." But in our sense, we can say, "Look, but we've already delivered all those things. We did all these things ahead of time," which helps to de-risk that side. So venture capital is all about risk. So it's one of the riskiest investments you can ever do. Most startups fail. So what your job as the entrepreneur is to help de-risk that. So show that you can do it. You have the right people. You approach it in the right way. You are very conscious of how the market is moving. You quite firmly try to establish unique parts of your business that's going to make it stand out. So having that kind of dual mindset has been really helpful so far.
Yeah, because you know which boxes you need to have.
Exactly.
And then you then also know how to tick those boxes.
Yeah.
That's really interesting, because I think that there are so many different ways to approach this intersection of sectors. And for me, from an art historical point of view, looking at technology and how artists use technology, that's incredibly interesting as well. And so just thinking about how these different approaches really mesh together, and how sometimes I think that our sector, like the arts, maybe it's because I've only really been in the arts, so I'm saying it may not be particular to our sector, but it feels that way, that within the arts, people are very protective of this is what the arts is.
Yeah.
And this is not allowed to go into any other outside sectors. We're not allowed to mesh. And so it was the same thing when I was doing art business at UCL. I was president of the Art Business Society. And I just remember someone, it was actually a professor, saying to me, "Why are you doing this when we have tried to separate art and business for the past century? You know, we've been trying to not make it revolving around money or anything like that." And what I then said was, well, but that doesn't help anybody if you stigmatize having to adhere to the way that our world works. Like, I want artists to be successful. I want to grow the sector. I want the cultural and creative industries, but the arts and cultural industries within the cultural and creative industries to really grow. And that takes people doing startups. It takes people thinking of new ways to grow the sector. And then it takes people who then create jobs through their startups, which is what you've done.
Yeah. And I couldn't agree more. So I think also so arts is enormously important for the development of society. So artists are one of the key, I think, also predictors, forecasters of how society is moving. They reflect many times on things we haven't even perceived yet.
Yeah.
So how many times have you not seen an artist that, foresaw something? They're I think they're at the forefront of science in many ways, social science, but even natural science. So a lot of artists that I've met with, they will collaborate with science institutions. And they run various kind of projects, experiments. So they help drive society forward. But to do that, they should have an impact. They should be allowed to have an impact on society. And the way you do that is through collecting. I mean, you as an individual can help bring those thoughts forward. I think it's a bit back to what you were saying before, when you're looking at artists is also, do I believe in what they're trying to do?
Yeah.
Do I support the kind of messaging that they're trying to bring forward? What are they leaving for? What kind of legacy are they leaving? What kind of storytelling are they giving? What kind of opinion are they putting down for us to see and to be impacted by? Because a lot of non-artist people, let's say, we're very much stuck, well, not stuck, but we follow our way of life, right? So we don't see it the way a lot of artists see. So one thing that I love with artists is they have a way to see the world in a completely different way.
They truly do, yeah.
Which is so mind-blowing.
Yeah.
And therefore they should be also listened to, also heard in the market. And the way you do that is opening the art world. So I think a lot of people are interested in art. You see it already now. Artists are being able to sell across Instagram on a global scale.
Yeah.
And a lot of people are interested in it. I think it needs to be there. So the art world, I think, has been one of the industries that has been still behind the digital or the technological curve. And that's where we want to also help to push that forward. Because I think it's something that people want, and I also think it's good for the art world.
So we were just talking about how you've grown the company and how you now have a team. So what has the timeline looked like from inception of the idea for Artscapy up until now? Because you have been able to scale the company and grow. And so how have you achieved that?
So it's been quite a journey. So we started, it was about July 2020. By October, we had already incorporated and had the very first alpha version of the platform already by November, essentially, which is extremely fast in startup world. But I think it's because we were building off of those experiences of having been in that world, knowing how to approach things. We were then looking into investment at the same time that we were growing the platform. We started to hire the first people in the beginning of 2021, and we closed the first round in March in 2021, and we did our next round already in July, and we've actually managed to raise 1 million so far, which has been
amazing.
Yeah, that was quite a journey as well, but it's been great to see. I think that's a testament to what we were saying just before that. I think there's an enormous opportunity to bring the art world to more people. So making collecting and access to the art world more accessible, so democratizing it. And that has really resonated also with investors, which we are humbled by and absolutely happy with, which has been great to have that kind of confidence also from that side of things. Then I mean, the project itself grows, and things inherently are quite chaotic in the beginning of a startup as you find your way, your strategy, as it were. You trial a couple of different things and see what resonates really with the market. I mean, we've been always quite firm. I mean, our North Star, our guiding thought has always been to build something for collectors. So it's really one of those things where, the founders are trying to solve their own problems. And when you try to do that, you become very sharp in the ultimate goal of the platform and of what we're trying to achieve. But then it's about finding your way a bit as you go. We were lucky to find a really great technical lead, basically our CTO, who has a lot of experience in the tech world, so building platforms and taking over the development side of things. And it's really about having great people on board. So what we're really trying to do there, and one thing that we've been very firm with, is also bringing in people from the art world.
Yeah.
Because also there, as a founder, I recognize that I don't have that academic background, but it's important that we have that and we resonate with that.
Yeah.
So we've made it a firm point to always bring in people who come from the art world and have, an art background, who studied art academically.
Yeah.
Into all the non-tech roles. So we're a bit softer on the tech side, because then you reduce the pool quite a bit if you're trying to find a developer who's done blockchain and also an art degree.
Yeah.
So we said, okay.
Yeah, there are very few people who fit that criteria.
So we said, okay, let's allow a bit of flexibility on that angle. But anything non-tech, we really try to keep that very set on understanding the art world.
Yeah.
So be that we have a couple of team members who are collectors themselves, or who became collectors as a result of joining the company, and equally we are very proud and happy to have amazing team members who are also from Sotheby's, from Goldsmiths, from all these kind of great art institutions. Because I think you do need that, right? So
100%.
Also, as a founder, you need to find people that complement the things that you can do, so help you achieve that goal and staying true to the art. So
yeah,
I think
I completely agree. Like, I could not agree with you more on this, and I think it's great. Like, it's so important.
Yeah, because a lot of people. So what we've seen also, I mean, in the art market now, there's a lot of people trying to do something because they've a bit realized this same thing. The art world is a bit behind the digitalization curve. There's a lot of room for technology to make a positive impact.
Yeah.
But that means that you have a lot of people seeing this, but they might not stay true to the art angle for it. So I've seen a few projects where that really shines out, that you have to also be conscious of how does the art world work.
Yeah.
And that's really something we're trying to do, which is why we're trying to always speak to as many people as we can, visit galleries on the weekends, go to art fairs. What are the pain points of those people in the art world? What matters more? How do we approach that in the right way?
Yeah.
Because otherwise you're building something maybe for the art world, but it isn't going to be what they are looking for.
Exactly. Something that also adds to that is that, for example, you mentioned Sotheby's, and that you have someone who was at Sotheby's, and they then reached out and, for example, connected me with Artscapy. So it really is coming and getting people who also know other people.
Exactly.
That sounds so basic, but how important is it to get the word out and to get these different opinions and to get these different people on board to assist or write or advise or everything, and to collaborate. Yeah. And that's the really wonderful thing about it.
Yeah, I think this has been super beautiful. I'm super happy to have gotten to know you through this exact kind of route. But you have to be open to that, and you have to try to seek it also.
Exactly. So you founded Artscapy with your partner, Alessandro.
Yeah.
How has that been, working with your partner to build a startup in the arts? And I mean, in lockdown as well. And because, many use the saying that you shouldn't mix personal and professional. So what would you say to that?
Yeah. I mean, obviously it's an intense one, but I mean, equally, yeah, don't mix the things, but equally what they always say is, pick your fellow founder, your co-founder in the right way, because you'll end up spending more time with your co-founder than with your spouse. Well, he happens to be my spouse, so.
Oh my God, I love that. Yeah. You do spend more time at work than you do at home.
Exactly.
So make sure that your coworkers are, that you get along and that you feel good.
Yeah, and to be honest, if it was another way around and we weren't working together, I think things would have been extremely tough, because you do spend a lot of time, a lot of mental energy on this project. I think there are a couple of things that go into this mix, because it's quite a dynamic situation to be in. I think the biggest thing you have to try to do to make this work is separate what is work and what is not work.
Yeah.
So when we're in the office, we're not husband and wife, not at all. We are two co-founders. We have different views. We have different opinions. We have different ways of seeing things. And we try to not shy away from, calling each other out or, voicing those opinions. So it should be really clear that there's no special treatments and or that, in any way that we are also romantically engaged.
Yeah.
In the office, we're really two separate professionals.
Yeah.
That's it. Like we could have no relation. We could be just friends. We could be anything.
Yeah.
In the office, we are two professionals and we bring in two different perspectives. And that's really, really important.
Yeah.
Equally on that side, though, is you have to try to find time where you're not co-founders.
Exactly. Like, oh, honey, let's sit down for dinner. So what happened with that investment today?
Exactly.
It's like, no, we have to separate that and give space for our lives as well, no?
And I think, to be honest, that side is harder. So for me,
I understand.
It sounds silly because, probably a lot of people would say, oh, but you're working with your boyfriend, girlfriend, husband, wife, whatever, and you see that person that you I don't know, spend the Friday night with, whatever.
Yeah.
But it isn't like that. I mean, I really admire him as a professional, and we have really a lot of respect for each other.
That's so important.
Yeah, and you need to. So because otherwise it doesn't work.
Yeah, because how would you take their opinions on board if you didn't have a deep respect? Yeah.
Yeah.
Fully.
I think rather that the other side is what you have to be careful with, because on one hand, it's quite common that anyway, a lot of things that couples speak about is what are things going on in their work lives. So you talk about it naturally a lot. Now that happens to be kind of the same thing. But I think the area that really helps is that this is a passion project. So I never feel bad about talking. So obviously, of course, and honestly, we do spend a lot of our dinners talking about what you would call work, but it doesn't feel like work. It is an exciting conversation. It's not something that bothers me or bothers him, and as long as it's like that, I think it's something that can work. I mean, it's something that we love. So talking about work can also be, okay, that gallery was great. What do you think of that artist? How can we bring them forward on the platform? What do you think of these collectors that we spoke with? How can we, improve that? And so having those conversations are great. So, it's a strange one because you say, oh, but then you are speaking only about work. But when it's your passion, it doesn't take energy from you. It gives you energy, which sounds maniac, but
I feel like anyone who is listening in who works in the arts, it completely resonates with them.
Yeah, because
it's the same thing with me when goodness, I'm sitting here on a Saturday,
coming
and recording this this podcast that I started just because I love it, and because I love the arts and I want to do something to contribute to it.
So you're officially working now, but for
kinda.
me this is an amazing Saturday.
Yeah,
this is a great weekend.
Yeah. And then I'm going to pop to a gallery later or a museum or do a studio visit. And I think that's why when you go into the arts, I feel like, at least for me personally, it has been such a joy to work so hard to get to a certain point where I feel like, okay, this is really turning into something career-wise. Because I learned very young. I went to, just a little quick detour. I went to a business school when I went to high school in Austria when I moved. And I went there for 3 years until I decided to change schools, where I then had art history and fell in love with it. So, but I went to this business school and I hated it. I hated every second of it. And then I worked in retail for a large part of my teenage years. Yeah. And I hated it. There were so many things where I was like, I don't want to have to get up every day and not love my job.
Yeah.
And then I decided, well, so many people were like, well, how are you going to make money?
Yeah, of course. Yeah.
And I'm like, well, if you go into it with that type of mindset, then no, I'm not going to be making any money. I'm not going to be successful. But I have had so much fun studying in the arts and studying the cultural industries and learning and working at Sotheby's for the past 4 years and while finishing my degrees, and then doing projects and curating and writing and all of these amazing diverse things that you can do in the arts. And you're always engaging with culture and with other people and with how people think and feel and act and see. And it's such a marvelous thing that I completely understand when you say, actually, when you're working towards something you love, it doesn't feel that much like work. It's not like we're coming home and talking about the accounting or the I don't know, the case that you're currently working on as a lawyer.
Yeah, and
it's different.
And it's not like we figured out a great way to make a new, I don't know, water bottle or sneaker, which, if that's your passion, fine, but it isn't mine.
It's great, because that could be creative or,
But like this is, what I love about the arts is that it's so varied. Yeah. So there's so many impressions to take in.
Oh, so many, yeah.
And which I find it makes it so fulfilling as an industry to be involved with. And I think also now, so I've never worked this much in my life as now, but I've never been as happy.
Yeah.
Either.
Fully.
So
I completely that resonates with me so much. And
I left a career in financial services to go on to be an entrepreneur. It is a big step. So it's not an equation that sits well with most people. And I think entrepreneurship is very much glamorized. So I think nowadays people see it on Instagram, and you're quote unquote an entrepreneur and you're living your life on Bali and working from your laptop with a paradise drink in your hand. But it's not like that.
No.
So it takes a lot of grit to try to do it. But I think the whole point is you have to do something that you love, and I'm super passionate about art, so that makes it something more.
Yeah. You said that you've never worked more in your life, but you've never been happier. So what does a normal day of an entrepreneur or of a COO of a company look like?
So I get this question quite a few times, and as much as I would like to say that I'm one of those, okay, yes, I wake up at 4:30 a.m.
Oh, yeah, the 4:30 a.m. club with a smoothie and a workout.
Yeah, and only fresh berries, and then I'm doing my half-hour face mask and while I'm answering emails somehow as a machine. It's pretty much chaos. No, but I think. So I'm not one of those people who can do the 4:30 a.m. I think you have to find something that works for you. So for some people, this 4:30 works, and maybe I'll arrive there at some point. But right now, I think it's about making sure that you live well. Like you have to be able to perform in your work and to deliver the things you have to do. You have to be mentally well.
Yeah.
And doing that means different things for different people. So for me, for example, exercise is hugely important. Yeah. So that's something that I have to have regularly in my schedule. Again, it doesn't mean that I'm waking up 4:30 to run 10 kilometers.
Yeah.
But it has to be a regular thing in my agenda. And then as a COO, the thing is you do everything. So I look at everything from our accounting to financials to commercial to our legal agreements, working with our suppliers, with our customers. So the streams are many, and my to-do list is ever growing. Sometimes it shrinks a little bit and I'm quite happy, but then it'll mushroom again. So in terms of what an average day looks like, it's hard to say because it's always changing. But that's also what I love about it, right? So no day looks the same. And I think this is the beauty of being in a startup. So whether also for me, but I believe also for our team, is no day is the same. You're not siloed or segmented into doing this one thing.
Yeah.
Well, probably that was more how my life was before. Also still there, though. I was doing a lot of research, so the things were quite different. But you have those kind of standing elements that you do a lot while running a startup. You're exposed to so many different things.
Yeah.
And you have to learn them.
Yeah.
So it's, okay, we have to build a landing page. Oh God, I've never built a landing page. Okay, let's read a bit how to do it, what works, do a bit of research. Okay, now let's
do it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And this is kind of the approach you have to have. So yeah, no, we're working a lot. I don't have a set agenda as such over my day, but I think there are those few elements that are non-negotiable, let's say, and I think it's important to have them. And equally for us as co-founders, we have to be mindful of having those moments where you try to detach from work, you try to do other things, but equally a lot of times those things still involve the arts. So do make the time to go to galleries, do make the time to see exhibitions, go to cultural institutions, which I think is great. So it's detaching from, okay, we have to do the VAT returns for this quarter to going to a gallery. It's a great breath of fresh air, which again is,
in comparison to that, yeah.
But it's like there are things you have to do them, and they get done. But I also love it because I'm learning so incredibly much about what it means to run a business, working with other people, building a team, seeing that team develop and change, which has been great, which is what I love about this experience.
Yeah. So what piece of advice would you give someone who wants to go in that direction, to achieve the same thing, be an entrepreneur and start a company and start to scale that?
One thing that helped me a lot was, and I would encourage a lot of people who are exploring this kind of avenue to take, is getting involved with an accelerator or with some kind of entrepreneurial program. So what I did some years ago, at this point, I was with this startup leadership program, which is actually a global non-for-profit organization where it's a program that helps you kind of become an entrepreneur, but it's much more focused about developing you as a person rather than necessarily being fixated on your startup idea. So a lot of the things are, of course, around that, but equally it's about developing that kind of mindset that you need to pursue an entrepreneurial project. And that has been great. So that group in particular is very, very supportive, and through them I have contact with entrepreneurs in New York, in Hyderabad, in across the globe, and we can lean on each other for anything. So we have a WhatsApp group, so everyone is asking, okay, I have this, it can be an accounting problem, or do you know a good UX designer, and we can share resources. So also one thing was, it opens your eyes to what it means to be an entrepreneur. You hear about the common problems, because again, it goes back to this idea of entrepreneurship being quite glamorized, and it seems quite simple, while it isn't, and a lot of people go through a lot of hardship from it. So this kind of also, to an extreme, can be also entrepreneurial depression, because you feel anything from imposter syndrome to, oh my God, I'm trying to run this company and I have now responsibility for all these people with this very risky project. And you're a lot of times you're also making a loss for quite a bit of time, and you have to try to make ends meet, and those mean very tough decisions. And those take a big toll on you, but those things are things that we don't really talk about so much. So when you look at and an entrepreneur. Again, the vision that comes in your mind is this guy under the palm tree in Bali. It's not like that. And like there are a lot of difficult things that you go through. So I think one, being aware of it, explore things where you can learn more about it. So being involved in an accelerator, do like some kind of program just to see what does it mean, and also hear from other people. And then from there, you have more a foundation to make, let's say, an educated decision to see if it's something that works for you. But then the last point is, don't be necessarily afraid to try either. Yeah. So I think if you do that thinking, do the research ahead, really have a clear idea what you want to do, read about the market, are people doing, what are your kind of competitors for this idea, where can you carve a space for yourself, and try to maintain that. If you figure those 2, 3, 4 puzzle pieces out, then you should just try to go for it.
Yeah.
But I think it's really important to do that research before, because again, from the outside world, it's like, okay, I'm just going to quit my job and do this project and I'm sure it's going to work.
And I'll be my own boss and it'll be grand.
Yeah. And it will be so great. But a lot of times it's much more than that.
Completely. I don't think I can equate launching a podcast to having a startup and launching a company. However,
no, but still there goes a lot to it. It's okay, what do I want it to look like? What kind of materials do I need? You sit here now with nice microphones and you have, I mean, I'm sure you learned a lot about even just the technological side of it.
I'm so bad with technology. And so having to learn how to like edit on GarageBand has been like the bane of my existence. But
I'm sure now you could basically teach a course on it, on the other hand.
Yeah, probably.
So even there, you've learned a lot in this process. And also that, how do I work with Spotify? What's the difference? Spotify Music, Apple Music. How do I reach my audience? What would they want to listen to? So there's a lot that you learn and that go into. And I think that's nice because you feel yourself growing.
Yeah. And I think that's exactly the crux of it, is growth. Because when I first launched the podcast, it was kind of like a lockdown thing. And it was for myself. It was like, I'm doing this because I feel so far away from the arts. I was studying arts administration and cultural policy, but I wasn't as engaged as I was when I was studying art history or going to museums or being able to see the exhibitions that were on at Sotheby's. I really just missed that. And so that's why I decided to go into it. And now I've grown it and I've really found the purpose of it through continuing it a bit. The career aspect and encouraging growth of the sector was always a part of it. But now I've really found this is it. This is what it's for. This is what I'm trying to do. I'm trying to grow the arts and cultural sector through information and lived experiences that other people can provide who are doing just that. Yeah. And I feel like that's something that has grown, even though in the beginning I was like, oh, well, if no one listens to it, then no one listens to it. And all of a sudden, I'm working with Artscapy and I'm working with other companies and other people and artists and it's marvelous and it's become something.
But it takes time to arrive there as well. I think this is also an overlooked thing, that it takes a lot of perseverance. Yeah. Much more than that, you get that exposure, but it takes time. Also equally for Artscapy. I mean, it takes some time until you start to achieve that kind of resonance from the market or from people who could be interested. So it takes time to build that.
Yep, exactly. And there are so many things that I also hope to be achieving in 2022 and 2023 to go outside of just the podcasting, but also within the All About Art sphere of encouraging more engagement within arts and culture. Yeah. And it's just so many things that I hope to be achieving with it. But are there any future plans that Artscapy has that you can divulge with me here today?
Well, so I think we have a few exciting projects going on. So one is we're proud to be sponsoring London Art Fair, which has now been postponed actually to April. Yeah. I think this will be a great way for us to also interact more directly with the art world. So being with collectors, with galleries, So this is a very exciting project that we have going on. There are a few more along these lines that, as and when they are confirmed, I'm happy to share them. But for now, they are in conversation. But these kind of projects and ideas, and we're working also directly with some artists. So one thing that we're doing now, I mentioned a bit the blockchain side of things. So our key focus is always on the fine arts.
Yeah.
And one thing that we're extremely proud of doing is a collaboration with an Italian artist, Filippo Rignolo. We're collaborating with him to do an NFT of his performance work.
Of his performance work?
Yes. So
cool.
This project is quite... It's a very, very somber and heavy topic, but it's a very nice piece of work. So this performance originally took place in Rome at the Maxi Museum on the 16th of October last year, which is the same day that in 1943 the Roman ghetto was moved into, so the Jews there were moved into Auschwitz. So the performance is basically connected to this. So what happened at the time was the general was deciding essentially who got to live and die through a very, very simple hand gesture. So a motion between left and right. He was moving this piece of paper basically.
Oh gosh.
And so what Rignolo then does is superimposing the way we interact with digital devices and social media today, where the same kind of banality of a gesture lets us connect back to this thing of how banal that decision was at the time, and how it is almost, it's a way for us to connect that past into our present day, into our future, for us to feel the extremity of that kind of horror, with also how we make even decisions today, how we interact with devices. And so this basically interactive artwork is becoming an NFT, so where you can basically explore and feel how this work was performed. So you have this simple motion where you explore this event essentially. So we're releasing this later in January, basically on the day that those Jews that were still alive at the time were released, which out of the 1022 were only 8. So we're very proud to be able to collaborate with such a great project. So for us, for Artscapy, our key focus is always quality fine art. So we're extremely proud to be able to work
with such an impactful piece and artist who's working with such a strong and important message. So
I think, this, obviously on a much less light tone than an art fair, but I think it's great for us to be able to collaborate with such profound work
but this
and
is why the arts are important, because it does tackle these themes in a way that communicates to people and touches people and influences people, and that's what makes it so impactful.
Exactly. So we're really, really proud to be doing that. We are working with other art fairs now. We're bringing on new and different galleries to help to promote their programs, exploring other collaborations with artists. So those things are now taking shape, and we're very, very happy for that. And I would invite also every listener to have a look at the site. It's free to have an account. So this is one thing again that goes back to our ethos of being all for collectors. So we want to make it accessible. So I mean, you can even start logging a collection, so up to 25 pieces is free.
Yep.
Which for us was hugely important to be that accessible entry point and or growth point. So for someone who is interested in arts and want to explore, want to learn, whether or not you have that art academic background, to make it accessible.
Yeah.
So the more things that we are exploring is direct interactions with people who are interested in art, with collectors. We'll be doing other probably exhibitions as we go along, and different collaborations.
Yeah. I mean, and if people end up going to the website to then sign up, I also wrote an article for Artscapy.
Yeah, exactly.
And so a piece of my writing is also on the website, and you can go and check out some of the things that I had to say about some of the pieces.
Yeah.
That could possibly be really wonderful pieces to add to any, collector's portfolio.
And I think that's also there where you see, so what we're really trying to bring in is some different works of research, so across different topic areas, different medium, but also at an accessible price point. So again, back to this idea of you don't have to have hundreds of thousands in the bank to be able to support the art world.
Yep.
Because it's not what it's about, but few people know this. So we want to help make people more aware, access that kind of information, which I think is great how that aligns also with the things that you're trying to do. So help people explore art, because it should be. I mean, that's also what artists want. So
yeah. Exactly. So finally, a bit of a fun one to end the episode.
Yeah.
If you could pick one artwork from art history or even from now, whatever, to add to your collection, what artwork would it be?
So, I mean, I have to go, I mean, for better or worse, I have to go cheesy on this one. So one of my favorite artworks, I mean, since before I even was, let's say, more aware of the arts, even is The Kiss by Klimt. Hopeless romantic, all that jazz and that just that innerliness of this piece of work, and the intimacy, and the not just the love, but the intimacy also of humans, the connections between humans that work for me kind of represents, and it's always been there in the back of my mind in some sense. Yeah, it is. I think he's a great artist, and that piece in particular is probably my favorite. So yeah, so if I could steal it and have it,
steal it from where is it? I think it's, where is The Kiss right now? Is it in the Leopold in Vienna?
I think so. Yeah.
I mean, you're speaking to an Austrian, so
exactly.
Of course Gustav Klimt is. I love Gustav Klimt and Viennese modernism and all of that. It's marvelous. All right. Well, that is it from me. And so, Emilia, thank you so much for coming on the podcast.
Yeah, thank you so much for having me, Alexander. This has been great. Thank you so much.
And that is it for today on All About Art. If you enjoyed this episode, please leave me a rating or a review, as it helps more people discover the show. Also, feel free to share with your friends, or if you share on social media, tag me and get in touch. Thank you so much for listening.